My guest on this episode talks about the quiet courage it takes to build something new and the deeper courage it takes to keep showing up when doubt creeps in. She shares how planting herself firmly in her values has helped grow a business, a vision, and a life rooted in connection, authenticity, and hope. She reminds us that courage isn't loud, it's steady, patient, and transformational. You're listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast, Episode 7. To all the courageous Black, Indigenous, and women of color leading in public health, this podcast is your space to turn up the volume on your courage. This space centers your voice. This space celebrates your passion. This space amplifies your courage. My role? To listen, to amplify, and to stand with you in the fight for equity. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock. I'm an epidemiologist, consultant, the founder and CEO of Courageous Public Health, and the host of the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Each week, I have unfiltered conversations with BIPOC women in public health about the challenges you face, the power you hold, and your vision for the future. We talk about the authenticity, vulnerability, and courage that you bring, not just to public health, but to every part of your lives. Because courage is about action, even in fear. It's about taking up space, leading unapologetically, refusing to be erased, and knowing you never have to do it alone. If you're ready to turn up the volume on your courage, if you're ready to take up space, if you're ready to smash the racist, patriarchal, cisnormative, heteronormative, ableist, capitalistic systems, then let's dive into this brand new episode. Dr. Andrea Lowe operates the Social Impact Studio Consulting, LLC, where she works with small to mid-sized health and human service agencies to build equitable policies, practices, and strategies at the local, state, and national level. Prior to starting her business in 2022, she spent 13 years supporting policy, advocacy, and strategic initiatives for local, state, and national governments, nonprofits, and private sector entities. Now she appreciates the opportunity to flex her entrepreneurial muscles in service to small to medium nonprofits and local government agencies. Dr. Lowe holds a DrPH from Loma Linda University and an MPH from University of South Florida. In her free time, she loves to read, play outdoors, and spend time with her friends and family. Let's connect my conversation with Dr. Andrea Lowe right now. Welcome, Andrea Lowe. Dr. Andrea Lowe, recent graduate here. So welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I am personally just ready for warmer weather. Lots of gray days and rain right now. So where I live, so just looking forward to summer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So why don't you start by giving us a little introduction?
Okay, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Lowe. I am a business owner. I run the Social Impact Studio Consulting, LLC. I am also a gardener. I also love to read, and I love to take road trips and spend time with my family and friends.
I love that. Yes, gardening and reading are also on my list of favorite things to do. That's fantastic. So you and I met a few years ago on LinkedIn during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. And then we met again because we're both part of Charlotte Huntley's Public Health Entrepreneurs Group, which is very exciting. It was very exciting to realize that you were part of that. You were part of that group as well. And then we got to meet in San Diego just this past spring, which was really fun. You know what? I was going to say there was warmer weather, except that there wasn't. We were in San Diego and it rained the entire time.
It's just following me. The rain, the grayness. One day it will be sunny.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. We're all like, what? It's supposed to be beautiful. It just wasn't. But that's okay. We made the best of it. And we still had a really good workshop. Love it. So let's jump right into the questions. So I've talked a lot about bravery, meaning to take action without fear, and courage, meaning to take action despite fear. So I'm really interested to hear some experiences that you've had in your professional life and in your personal life where you acted courageously.
Sure. So there's a couple of experiences that I'd love to speak about today. The first is really around starting my own business. I've been in business since 2022, so almost 3 years, but I was so scared to really start my own business. Like it'd been something I'd been thinking about for like even a year before then, maybe a year and a half before then. And I just went back and forth for months, like about it. When I knew we were leaving the one place that I lived and needed to move to another place for my husband's job, and I knew I needed to leave my job, it was like, okay, here's this opportunity. Should I start my business or should I find another job? I went back and forth so many times. My husband is he probably was feeling a little like, okay, Andrea, like just make a decision. But I was always curious. I was wondering, like, what if it failed? I don't know how to run a business. I worked in government. I worked in nonprofits. There's a sense of businessness around both of those things, but it's very different when you're trying to run a for-profit business. And then what if I couldn't do it on my own? Or what if it fails and I can't find a job and get back into the workforce? All those things were really concerning for me. And I asked myself all those questions. But then after we moved, and I honestly I never answered it for myself. I just kind of left it up to what happened. I was like, okay, I'm going to apply for some regular full-time jobs working for somebody else. I'm also going to apply to some contracts, and whichever comes first is what I'll figure, that'll be the path I go. And so the contracts actually came first. So then I just jumped into starting my own business and kept it going since there. So yes, so that's something I think every day I still have to step into courage to keep it running and think about the future and sustaining it as well.
And this was all while you were finishing up your doctorate.
Yes. Yeah.
Too,
yeah.
Right?
I actually was starting school close to the same time that I actually started my business. So my business started just around a month or two before. So yeah, it was a lot of new at the same time.
Yeah, that's great. Yep, fantastic.
My other example was a little bit more on the personal side. And honestly, as I was kind of thinking about these questions, this is something that I thought, I really wasn't thinking of, but then when I thought of the question, I was like, oh, you know what? I should talk about this too. And honestly, it sounds simple, but just going out there and talking to people has taken a lot of courage for me. I'm naturally a very, very, very shy person. Very shy, ever since I was a little kid. And then sometimes I struggle to really understand social cues, and I have to work really hard on it to tell, okay, what is this person saying? How are they feeling? I'm constantly running that through my mind. So ironically, of course, this is the way life works. I actually grew up in a military family where we moved every year and a half to 2.5 years. And then as an adult, I moved every 2 to 4 years to find new work. Sometimes, just in public health, your contracts end up or government grants run out. So you need to find something new. So the moving itself was always exciting every single time. I loved oh gosh, I'm going to be in this new place. I'm moving to LA. I'm moving to DC. I'm moving to Florida or wherever. But then it would come to the actual being there. And then I'd be like, okay, I got to go to work. I got to go to school. I got to find some friends, which means I got to go out to events where there's other people and I don't even know how to talk to them. and it was always so frightening. And even now, I think honestly, it still can be really scary for me when I'm around a lot of people that I don't know. And I find it easy to go into my little shell. So I have to actually work really hard at it. I think COVID, honestly, set me back a little bit. But I'm still working on it. I'm working through that. And sometimes I succeed. A lot of times I'm getting to succeed. And there's still some times that I fail. So it's been better over years. But I do keep trying to like go out there, put myself out there, because I know it's important for me to do so. And in the end, if I can really make some friends out of it or just have a great experience, it's really the best feeling ever. So those are really the two examples that I was thinking of.
I love both of those examples. And I mean, especially needing to get some courage, like build up your courage to talk to other people. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to that. It can be, it can feel intimidating or scary or just like you're jumping into the unknown to start a conversation with a new person or even someone that you already know. Sometimes it's like it doesn't actually help that you've already talked to them. It's still a bit nerve-wracking. But what a great skill to be intentionally practicing. Mm-hmm. I think that's a lot of what we have to do. I think sometimes it's just like practice our courage. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. And I mean, I've certainly been with you, in a room full of other people and, you communicate, what's the word? Brilliantly. I mean, I would never guess. Right. And that's the thing is so often, we have no idea that somebody else is actually feeling whatever they're feeling, right? Like we can't see the feelings. Thank goodness we don't actually walk around like inside out. We're like, all of our feelings are out there for everybody to see. But, I wouldn't guess that, but I think it's vulnerable and generous for you to share what's going on inside. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even before, let's say when we were meeting up in San Diego, like before I left my hotel room, I'm like, okay, we're getting ready to go. I'm going to go to this thing. I need to make sure I contribute. You can do it. It's going to be a good day. And then I walk out the room. Like I have to pump myself up for all sorts of things. So it's an ongoing learning process.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, courage is also about taking up space, right? So claiming and expressing your power, taking up the space, pumping yourself up, and especially when we're in spaces that don't always welcome our courage and our power, it's really important. So I'm also very curious about how you express and embody your power as an African-American woman doing the work of public health. And maybe what some of the challenges are that you've faced and how you've dealt with those challenges.
Sure. So kind of like what I was talking about earlier, I think I'm just constantly learning and growing and constantly stepping into my power. I would say some of it, like when I'm younger, like I was kind of thinking of it like, okay, when I was younger versus now. And when I was younger, I feel like I had this sense of like, okay, of course I belong here. I'm interested in this thing, or I need to be here, so therefore I am here. So I've kind of allowed it when I was younger, also not being like fully well-versed in being able to pick up on social cues. I was able to kind of have the sense of like, okay, this is where I need to be and I have a job to do or I have an objective for myself. So I'm going to accomplish that objective and I'm not really going to like see or recognize all the times that others may have thought that I shouldn't have been there or wanted me there. So it kind of helped a little bit that I would just kind of ignore it when I needed to. But then I think kind of something that kind of started when I was younger and then has continued all the way through to adulthood for me is that just really expressing and embodying that power through my values, right? Like I've always been someone who's had very, very strong values and a strong kind of foundation for myself, both on my understanding of like what is right and what is wrong. And I want to say that with the caveat that knowing what's right and what's wrong can vary depending on the situation. Sometimes it's really hard to tell what's right and wrong, and sometimes it's just kind of like a neutral. And I recognize that. But being able to logically come to that has always been important to me. And then also just thinking about how do I treat someone it has been very important to me, similar to what you were just saying, like really around respecting other people, no matter who they are. I think of like another value is like, how am I connecting with other people and how am I connected spiritually within myself so that I can show up for others, both physically and emotionally. Things that I think of is like, I may not always agree with people, and that's perfectly fine. But for the most part, I will always treat you with respect. I will always try to make you feel welcome and feel important. And I will always advocate for those who need to be advocated for. And so those were some things that are ways that I've been able to step into my power, because those are my values on which I stand on, and they do not change. And that's just generally me, regardless of within public health or not. Kind of thinking of a challenge that I faced around that. I mean, I've definitely been in spaces where I'm not welcome. Like I've picked up on it for sure. I think specifically in my past, I've done a lot of policy work, both on the federal and the state level. And I would say my experiences primarily at the state level, probably more than the federal level, felt a little bit more lonely. I remember this distinct experience where I'm sitting around the table with the other policy directors, and I look around and I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm the only non-white person in this room, like completely, and feeling sad and disappointed and so lonely in that moment. Not that I was made to feel that way, but the fact that there wasn't more of me, even though this was work that anyone could do, was just hurt my heart. And there were also kind of more specific instances where I felt othered, where people actually stated and assumed things about my character, my political affiliation, things like that, just based on how I looked or whatever. And so I always find it important to kind of return back to my values. And sometimes I just need to state them really clearly and reiterate it over and over again. Like I've learned to over communicate so much. Sometimes people are like, Andrea, you've told me this like 4 times. I'm like, that's okay. I'm sorry. This is how I am. I will tell it to you 4 more times, but I just want to make sure you understand, because I've had so many instances where people are just like not listening, or they're not understanding how I am as a person and what my values are and why I'm coming to a particular decision. So I'm like, you know what? Hey, you don't know me like that. Here's where I stand on this. Here's what I'm planning to do. Here's why I'm not your enemy. And I think those are, that's helped me a lot. Sometimes it hasn't gone over well, but for the most part, it's helped kind of come to some sort of consensus / working relationship that's allowed us to move things forward.
I really appreciate you talking about how your values help you in embodying your power. I think that is so powerful. And you mentioned a lot of values, respect and I hear kindness, and I hear compassion, and I hear, honoring people, people's opinions. And I mean, there's just like so much good stuff. There's so much good stuff in there. It's like, I'm like, those are all the ways that I want to be too. is great. It's a great reminder. And I also appreciate you pointing out that in those moments where you've been the only person at the table, for example, the only African American person at the table, a person of color, that it feels lonely. And I think that, yeah, I mean, it's not that people make you feel lonely, but it is lonely. You are the one person. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Yeah. So I appreciate all the things that you've shared about courage and power. And I'd really like to look ahead. And I know, I got to hear some parts of you looking ahead at the retreat in San Diego, but I would love for our listeners to get a sense of what your vision for the future is. And I'm thinking, your future, your vision for public health, for African American communities, and your personal vision for yourself as an African American woman.
Sure. So one of the things that I talked about in the retreat that we were asked was like the problem that our businesses are trying to solve. And for me, the problem my business is trying to solve is the problem of disconnection, and kind of this disconnection between nonprofit organizations and communities, between person A, person B, between other consultants, whatever I'm trying to do. And this is like a personal problem that I feel like is my goal to help. I won't solve it by myself, of course, but like my goal to like speak into and part of my purpose, not only for my business, for myself. So I'm saying all this because I'm couching my vision within that problem of disconnection and the desire for connection. So my vision for the future of public health is just that honestly, that maybe it's not even called that anymore, and that we see it really integrated as part of just living and helping each other out as human beings on this planet. So while the work, of course, continues, because we need to, we need to live and thrive and be whole within community. I want to see it where it's so connected to everything else that we can't even discernibly identify it as something separate from any other issue or part of being in community. So like maybe falling just under a living under community label, because it's just so deeply rooted in all the things that we're doing.
Which of course we know that it is. It's just the people not in public health don't always understand that is true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So how can we, so maybe it's a way of kind of like letting go in order to bring it all in, so that whether you're in public health or out of public health, we're really all in it because we're all in this together.
And so many people do the work of public health, even if they're not public health professionals. They might not think of themselves as public health professionals, but public health intersects with so many things. I love that. I love that as a vision for the future of public health. Integrated, like have it integrated in all the things about living.
Yeah. So and it's funny too, because I feel like I even though I'm trained in public health, I have my doctorate in public health, I have my master's in public health, like it's not the only world that I've worked in, like the formal traditional public health world. So like in a way, it's a way I sometimes see myself as like a not just public health professional. I don't want to say more than, but just not just that. And it's just like a way of being able to also embody that within community. my vision when it comes to especially like BIPOC communities, any communities of color, is really the same for all communities. It's really, I want every community, every piece of ourselves that we identify with to feel valued, to feel important by every other person. So whether or not they're part of that community or identify with it, I think it's important that we all are able to just, one, be able to see our differences and acknowledge them, not hide them, not ignore them, not, pretend that everything needs to be covered. But actually find our differences very interesting, find them important. Let's respect them. Let's respect, whether it's cultural or religious or other things, geographical or anything like that. We all come from different places and different backgrounds and different spaces and ways of knowing that we should be able to value and respect and bring together as we're living together. So I think that kind of connects back into my vision for the future of public health as well. Just like really like finding a space where it's all, part of us being together. And then when I think of my own vision for the community, for my own future, honestly, I have like, it's more short term, but one of the things that I really honestly just want to not be afraid or worried for my own safety, whether that's psychological or physical safety, for myself, as well as the safety of those I love whenever we're in certain places or spaces. Like I want to be able to just not have to worry about that and kind of, because we're all like valuing each other, there's not like that's the big goal for me now, and maybe that sounds small, but it's important for me. And then one of the things that I have in my future goals, we'll see if it'll ever happen, but like post my public health, the retirement, maybe consulting retirement, I would love to open like a tea shop or a game shop or something that is just really a comfortable space for people to gather. They can connect, maybe a bookshop, they can make new friends, maybe reconnect with old ones, just kind of come and hang out and spend time and connect with each other and just have a space for connection. So those are kind of my goals those are my goals for my vision for my own future as well.
Okay. When you have your coffee shop or your space, whatever it is, with lots of books and lots of plants, I will definitely be there to hang out and enjoy the community. I mean, that sounds so great. That sounds so great. That's a great goal. And I know this is something that obviously you've been thinking about because you just finished your doctorate and you're like getting ready to sort of go to the next phase in some ways. It's thinking about, being able to celebrate our differences. I was thinking when you were talking that, we also want to celebrate our similarities because there are a lot of things that are true because we're all human beings, right? And to be able to celebrate those things as well. But I do agree that, where there are differences is where things get really interesting. That's exciting and new. And we get to like learn about, other ways, of being in other cultures and other languages. And so that's what I was thinking when you were talking about that. I mean, honestly, it's all worth celebrating.
Yes. Our whole selves, right?
Our whole selves.
Like, I think kind of back to like how I had talked about earlier, how I moved so much as a kid, moved a bunch as an adult. Like I've had such great opportunities to connect with people from like all over the United States and really all over the world as well. And there are so many similarities, we're people just want to like live. They want to like have families. They don't want to have families, but just they want to work. They want to have a space to call their own. Like there's so much that we have in common as well, that I think is important to acknowledge. So thank you for bringing that up as well.
It's been really great to talk to you. And I hope I get to see you in person again.
Yes, we will one day.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, now I've got a date in the future at your place.
Yay. Okay. I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted when that opens up. I know
you've got some time before you retire.
I need a little bit more capital than I've got right now to be able to do something like that.
Right. No, that's good. Okay. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to be on your podcast today.
Of course. What a great conversation. Dr. Andrea Lowe reminds us that leadership rooted in authenticity and care has the power to transform not only systems, but lives. I encourage you to connect with her on LinkedIn to learn more about her and her courage. You can find the links to connect with her on the show notes page for this episode, located on our website, courageouspublichealth.com, under episode 7. Before you go, please take a moment and share this episode with a friend. I know that there are people in your life who would appreciate hearing this conversation about courage. If you're listening in a podcast app, you can easily share this episode through a text or directly to social media. On the show notes page, you'll also find social media sharing buttons to make it super easy to spread the word. All right, everyone. Until next time, stay courageous. Thank you for listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Visit courageouspublichealth.com to find the show notes for each episode and learn how to connect with us.